Hello everyone, in this video I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Shahbaz Gill to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Shahbaz Gill's words. First, the meeting of the Parliamentary Committee of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, and afterward a major press conference. Yes, today in Islamabad, PTI held a parliamentary committee meeting, followed by a big press conference in which many issues were discussed and, well, some things were left unsaid. The topics that were discussed will be covered here. I will also shed light on some points that should have been discussed but weren't. During the parliamentary committee meeting, some members asked very tough questions. As for my affiliation with the party, although I have received this information from independent journalists, I will refrain from reporting on those things myself. Other journalists are already reporting them, so you can hear it from them. Here, I will talk about the press conference that followed the parliamentary committee meeting. The main highlight of the press conference was, of course, the current oppression taking place, which is evident, and the way the government, the current regime and military generals have seized power. There was a discussion about the threats to democracy. But the major highlight was the discussion around the expected conspiracies against the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government, which we've been talking about for the past few days. Mr. Ali Amin Gandapur very clearly said that he challenges anyone to bring down the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government through constitutional and legal means. He said if they managed to do that, he would quit politics. Clearly, his message was directed towards the military generals, implying that if they remove the government constitutionally and legally, he will step down. Otherwise, he said, neither will any of our members leave, nor will there be any horse trading. No one from our side will create a forward bloc. So, if you want to act unconstitutionally, you can do so. But legally and constitutionally, you cannot remove our government. I agree with Mr. Gandapur on this point. However, I would advise him not to get entangled in this debate because the people he is challenging haven't fought as many battles as they've overthrown governments. So, they have more experience in this regard. They never bring down governments in a constitutional manner. Their approach is always unconstitutional. Instead of focusing on this, I believe we should focus on how to proceed with protests under the current circumstances. This is not just my view. Independent journalists are also commenting that while today's press conference was full of important points, the most important thing missing was a clear strategy for the next protest. I agree with these independent journalists. The press conference was well done, and the leadership must be praised for highlighting the threats to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government, the overall state of democracy in the country, and the issues surrounding our workers and Imran Khan. These are all commendable efforts. But for me, it was surprising that there was no clear plan for the protest to begin in a week. Imran Khan has already called for a protest after the 10th of Muharram from prison. As soon as a protest call is made, there are usually 2 or 3 things that happen. The first thing is that Imran Khan is isolated. And it's not easy to isolate him because his cell is very small these days and the summer heat is intense. They know that once he is isolated, the torture will be unbearable. But despite this, look at Imran Khan's courage and commitment. Even though he knows everything, he still calls for protests from inside jail. If he didn't call for the protest, he wouldn't be isolated. He knows this. We know this. And even though he faces intense pressure, he remains committed to the cause. As soon as the protest call is made, the second thing that always happens is that talks begin. I'd informed you earlier, around April, that the government would try its best to pass the next 2 months without any major protest, and the ideal time for protests is in March and April. After that, the weather gets very hot, and it is not the most effective time. The best time for protests starts in August, September and October, and the government tries to avoid protests during this period. Though it is hot in June, July and August, farmers are mostly free from harvesting wheat, and after the religious duties of Muharram, they will also be available for protests. Even though this period is not ideal for protests, there still remains a window for action. The government is aware that protests might start soon, so again, talks for negotiations have begun both inside and outside. Shahbaz Sharif has also spoken about it. Some of our own people are also now talking about negotiations. Now, it's not necessary that everyone's opinion on negotiations is bad. Our people too have good intentions and genuinely believe that negotiations should happen. But personally, I think negotiations happen with those who have the power. Those with power don't want negotiations, and they send intermediaries to handle things. This is just a time-buying tactic, and as I mentioned earlier, this is the usual practice. Once again, we are witnessing the same thing. Imran Khan is being isolated, and talks are being initiated. To wrap up, I return to the point that was missing in today's press conference. What is the next step for the protest? Protests can take various forms. Protests don't have to be conducted in one way. For example, Imran Khan's legal cases are ongoing in the courts, and all MPs, MLAs and ticket holders should regularly attend the court sessions and create a movement within the courtrooms. Imran Khan has a remarkable ability to turn court opportunities into political movements. Similarly, during Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's trial, the People's Party used the trial to give it a political flavour. Today, the same can be done with Imran Khan's cases and with the cases of our workers. We can also hold protests for those who have sacrificed their lives, like Iftikhar Jat, who passed away recently. Why wasn't a funeral procession for him organised in Lahore? Why didn't we try to hold a memorial procession for him? This could have been a form of protest. There are various ways we can honour our martyrs and keep the momentum alive. If the leadership wants, they can take various actions, such as holding prayer sessions for our workers in mosques or at prominent religious sites. These activities will help maintain momentum. Imran Khan has faced many challenges, and now the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa government must stay vigilant, as there are signs of possible actions from those who don't want them in power. Maulana Fazlur Rahman has also made statements regarding the confidence vote in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which should raise further concerns. The next piece of interesting news is from Balakistan. Maulana Fazlur Rahman, through Senator Kamran Murtaza, has challenged the Balakistan Minerals Act in the Balochistan High Court. The reason is that when Field Marshal met with President Trump, it was revealed that Balochistan's minerals were being offered to the United States. And before this, Pakistan had offered these minerals to China. Furthermore, there are speculations that these minerals were also offered to Saudi Arabia. This is something to keep in mind. You might remember the Iraqadek case. We don't know how many countries we have to offer these minerals to. Anyway, Mr. Fazlur Rahman challenged it in the High Court. But the most important thing here is that Maulana Fazlur Rahman and his party had already voted in favour of the Minerals Bill and passed it earlier. So, after voting for it once it was passed, now they are challenging it in court. This is truly remarkable. Only Mr. Fazlur Rahman and his party could do this. No one else could. The next news comes from Karachi, and it's such that when you hear it, at least you'll feel that if you know how to send a message, no matter how difficult the situation is, you can still send your message. Bushra Ansari has given a very strong message today, and she has proven that she is the daughter of Ahmed Bashir. Because Ahmed Bashir was one of Pakistan's prominent intellectuals, writers and journalists, and he too worked in difficult circumstances, but never let his pen bend or break. Today, Bushra Ansari has shown the same strength as her father, Ahmed Bashir. Ahmed Bashir has many books. If you get a chance, definitely read them. Or if you get the opportunity to learn more about him, you'll realize that he was a great personality and had done great work. Today, Bushra Ansari gave a powerful message without naming anyone, but specifically directed it at Field Marshal, and said that there were two women, mothers, who, if they were respected, the masculinity of the prominent men in Pakistan would have been saved. She said, "We've seen your masculinity now, and you're afraid of two women." Listen to what she said. Assalamu alaikum ji. Whatever's happening, you are seeing it in the news. It's tough to watch, but you have to. I'm thinking, if we had been more considerate, these two mothers would not have been treated the way they were. Yasmin Rashid and Usman Dar's mother have gone out of their way despite their age. If you ever don't find your preferred pillow, you wouldn't know how to manage. Those in jails and facing hardships, whatever their stance, Their respect should have been maintained. I feel bad about this. To all the men I say, your masculinity is now evident to us that you are afraid of two women. Sorry, but that's the truth. So Bushra Ansari's direct message, without naming anyone, has hit the mark. As I told you, there's no doubt she has her own big name. She is a very prominent artist of Pakistan and has done a lot of good work. But in this difficult time, when no one is willing to speak the truth, especially in the world of art and craft, she has spoken up. She, as the daughter of Ahmed Bashir, has delivered a powerful message to the Field Marshal and his companions, saying that if you are scared of these elderly mothers, then what can be said about your masculinity? If you weren't afraid of them and hadn't done this to them, your respect would have been enhanced, not diminished. She delivered a very beautiful message today. On the other side, Maulana Tariq Jamil also gave an effective message without naming anyone, as he couldn't directly name anyone or he would face repercussions. But he effectively conveyed his message by stating that the courts in the country are sold out and justice has been bought. When asked about Imran Khan being in jail, he said, "Pharaoh killed 70,000 children, but Musa still came." This is the dark night of oppression, but it will end because oppression is meant to be eliminated. It seems that indirectly he referred to Sheikh Nizamuddin as Pharaoh, or at least made a comparison. This is another powerful message without directly naming anyone. The clarity is now there. If you follow the religious scholars, you would know that we discussed Maulana Hanif Qureshi yesterday, who issued a fatwa after taking an oath on the disrespect of the Holy Quran. Today, Maulana Tariq Jamil's words are also very clear. On the other hand, from the world of art, craft, drama and literature, Bushra Ansari's message has made it clear who is truly in power and who is behind these actions. Everyone's message is clear, even if they can't name anyone. Next, the news is that Muhammad Malik has reported that this time Shahbaz Sharif was against the export of sugar. He knew that if sugar was exported, the country would have a shortage and it would lead to a scandal. However, after a meeting with the family in Lahore, they were told firmly that this had to be done, and so the export happened. Now, the sugar, which under Imran Khan's government was priced at 60 to 65 to 70 rupees per kilogram, is now being sold at 205 rupees per kilogram. Export has already happened, and now the government has allowed imports. 5 lakh metric tons of sugar will be imported. With this, there is fear that the sugar price might rise to 245 rupees per kilogram. This has led to a corruption scandal. When we inquired about this news from independent sources, we found that Shahbaz Sharif and his son themselves have been sharing this with journalists in Lahore, denying their involvement in the export decision and placing the blame on Ishaq Dar, Mariam Nawaz and Nawaz Sharif's group. They are distancing themselves from it. Next, we have a picture from the armed forces. You can see that someone is offering Fatiha, a prayer for the deceased, but the posture doesn't look like someone offering prayers. It's the kind of posture you see when someone is relaxing on cushions in a village. This picture highlights a trend in Pakistan where people in power are treating such sacred moments inappropriately, as we also saw with the example of the politician who created a drive-in funeral by parking his car in the first row during a funeral procession. This culture of injustice is now so pervasive that everyone is trying to assert power in any way they can. In conclusion, the situation in Pakistan where oppression is rampant and where those with power try to assert their authority in every possible way continues to persist. That wraps up our translation of Shahbaz Gill's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.